All right, we are live for the digital CRE collision. So Bucky, kick this off.
Hashtag CRE stands for commercial real estate for all y'all that don't know. My name is Bucky Beeman. I'm a commercial real estate agent in Rochester, Minnesota, partner at Realty Growth Incorporated, a firm in Rochester specializing in commercial real estate. And I love the internet and I love to see what the internet has done for my business. And it's led me to great conversations with people like Dallas and other people. And now we're bringing those conversations live.
Yeah, so that leaves me. So I'm Dallas McLaughlin, Director of Interactive Marketing at the James Agency in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I do a lot of the digital strategy for our clients, pay-per-click, search engine optimization, email marketing, social media, pretty much. If a brand needs to position online, I work on aligning that with everything they're doing offline to drive actual business goals. So today, Bucky, let's talk about we've got people. I'm at the office right now, so getting distracted.
What time is it in Arizona?
It is 5:36.
Nice. 7:30 in Rochester.
Yeah. Yep. See, it's weird in Arizona. We don't have daylight savings. So sometimes I'm 2 hours behind you. Sometimes I'm only an hour behind.
Oh, nice.
It's weird. But today, let's talk about lately. I mean, I've always been doing this, but I've really been doing it more on a larger scale, actually, for clients and everything. And it's social listening. It's super basic, but I feel like lately we've been seeing some really great results. So I guess if I break down what social listening is to me, and I'll outline kind of how I'm doing it, and then maybe Bucky, while I'm kind of brainstorming what I do, you could come up with some ideas of how an individual might use the same thing to grow the personal brand, where I'm using it to grow a client's revenue and bottom line. So some of the things I'm doing is obviously the greatest listening tool that all business owners and marketers have available right now is Twitter, and it has been forever. Like Gary Vaynerchuk always says, like when Twitter came out, everybody was like, this is dumb, this is stupid. What am I going to talk about? To me, it's listening. I don't need to talk about anything. Even if you never tweet for the rest of your life as a business, you can leverage Twitter for so much actual traffic, so much actual insight. And the reason I'm talking about this today is because I actually had a meeting with a guy a couple of weeks ago that made me actually really reevaluate what I'm doing. He owns a company right here in Scottsdale. It's called AMPSY, AMPSY. And what they do, it's really cool. How most people are doing social listening is they're just listening to hashtags or brand mentions, things like that. They'll get alerted if someone's talking about them, and then they can respond to that. What this software actually allows companies to do is just, let's say, draw a fence around the venue. So Bucky, let's say you've got an event going on at the Rochester Civic Center. You don't have an event hashtag. You don't have a Rochester Civic Center handle to monitor. What you can do is actually just draw a digital fence around that, right down to less than half of a mile. And you can actually pull in every social conversation happening inside of that little fence that you've drawn. Wow. And monitor everything going on. So some examples of what this software is doing is, I know like the University of Phoenix Stadium here uses it. They draw fences around the stadium, and they can actually listen to real-time feedback of, oh, this concession stand, the lines are way too long, or the bathroom over here is dirty, or the water fountain's broken. And when they're listening through this software, they can respond to those in real time. Those are things that would never happen on a hashtag. They usually won't reply directly to the brand and say those things, but because they have this technology, they're able to take that in real time rather than finding out about it a week later through some review or on Yelp or something. So that's a super advanced way companies are using this. But what I've been doing, what I took from that, that's the holy grail of how you do this, in my opinion. Leaving that meeting, my thought was, okay, how do I do it on a scale that works for our clients and myself? And kind of what I've come up with is I use the tools we all have, one of them being Hootsuite. And I figured out through Hootsuite, I can do this kind of the same thing. I can drop in latitude and longitude right down to where I'm actually standing, and do within, I think it's 0.35 miles is as narrow as you can get, which is really short, less than half a mile. It's a really small area. And I can load up all kinds of different parameters. I can load up just everybody within 0.35 miles of me. I can load up people talking about certain things, certain hashtags, certain brands, anything. And I can monitor all those and I can reply to all those. So some of the applications we've been doing is we have like restaurant clients. So what the restaurant clients can do is lunchtime every day. You look at our feed that is everybody within 3 miles of us. It's 10 o'clock. Our lunch rush is at 11:30. Anybody that's starting to say, hey, what's for lunch today? Hey, Joe, what do you think you're going to have for lunch today? Should we get together for lunch? This restaurant can see all of those in that feed and jump in and reply to those in a non-spammy way, obviously, and build that relationship. Or what they can even do is start pulling those people out because they know, hey, this guy lives within a mile of me. He's talking about lunch today. Let me just give him a follow, maybe favorite a few things he's talked about in the past. And in maybe a week from now, I'll give him some sort of offer to come in and see me. So we're kind of reversing the whole funnel of what people view social media as. Instead of saying, this is who we are and this is what we do, we're actually saying, okay, what are you talking about? And how do we as the brand or business engage in that and provide some sort of value within the context of what that situation is. So that's the brand aspect. So then what I did the same thing. I did everybody in Arizona for me personally, anybody talking about search engine optimization, anybody talking about pay-per-click, anybody asking questions about email marketing, all of these different things that I know I'm generally an expert at, I'd call myself. It's my full-time job. I'd hope I'm good at it. Anybody asking questions about these things or just talking about them, especially if it's a question, I'll jump in and provide the answer to that question. So you have to be careful that you're not, hey, for $150 an hour, I'll answer that question. Give them the answer. Just tell them how to solve their problem, give them that value. And then someday in the future, if you do that enough, somebody's going to tell somebody that you helped them. You're the guy that has that answer. You're the one that can provide that solution because now maybe they're at a Fortune 500 company. You've got that in. It's a stretch to make, but it happens. It's crazy. But I've been doing that. I've just been repeating that every day for the last 2 weeks. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a little bit kind of what I'm doing with social listening. I think it's always been a branded and hashtag monitoring thing. But when you layer in geography, latitude, longitude, drawing these fences around areas, you can really engage in everything that you were missing before. So it takes it to another level. And it's free. You don't have to do anything. It's just free. Just know how to do it. So what I would say, if you were like in your case, if you're trying to sell office buildings in Rochester or surrounding cities, is draw those fences. Listen to anybody, any business owners that are considering, hey, our office is too small. Oh, we just hired all these new people. Oh, we just took on this new client, and you can start watching these people. Hey, within a couple of weeks, they're going to need a new office space. Let me start that conversation. I'm sure with your dad's restaurant, you've probably got some ideas there as well. But I don't know, are you kind of doing any kind of, I don't know if you'd call it reputation management, brand monitoring, social listening, whatever you want to call it. What are your thoughts on that?
I got a lot of thoughts going through my mind. I'm getting a little feedback, so sorry if that's happening on your end. I might have to grab my headphones. So social listening, I guess one thing I would say is social listening is always happening. People watching us right now, they're doing social listening. They're listening to content, and now they just have to figure out, do they want to interact, engage, somehow be a part of the content that's being put out. And whether you're doing it as an individual person or you're doing it as a brand, you're listening, and you can decide if you want to engage or not. And then I feel like it happens more than people naturally think about. You're always listening. I'm watching Facebook. I'm watching Twitter. Now, with social media, like you said, you can get more precise. So how I'm doing it is, we're in Rochester, Minnesota, home to the Mayo Clinic. Within Hootsuite, you can set up different Instagram places as your feed. So I have the Mayo Clinic, I have the Peace Plaza, I have a very popular coffee shop, Cafe Steam, and I see when people post on Instagram photos in those places. And as Snappy Stops, my father's burger restaurant, I go in and like them, comment. I struggle with how not to be too spammy-ish, because and I don't know, it just doesn't easily always come naturally. And an example is Mayo Clinic. Well, a lot of people are coming here because they're sick. So it's difficult for me to comment as a burger restaurant, because it's like, well, we just arrived our first day at the Mayo Clinic and it's, 2 people at Mayo. And so I struggle with that one specifically. But if it's the coffee shop, I go in and like the photo and I can engage, and it's easy for me. Other ways that I'm doing listening, and this is a real life example as of yesterday, and it's not even me, it's my father and his restaurant. Someone did gave feedback on Facebook, and it was bad feedback for the restaurant from customer service. And it actually led to, I don't know the whole story, but I think it led to someone being let go. It was an immediate feedback. He got it on his phone. He immediately had made an action because of that, because of what was happening. So, it can help and give you real life as far as interaction with your business. When I started thinking commercial real estate, which I really love, I don't think any big companies are doing this, but as a commercial real estate firm in Rochester, how can I start establishing relationships with people looking to buy investments across the country? I need to start looking for them on social media through the hashtags, through certain search parameters within Hootsuite or the app, and then I can go in and start engaging with them. So then when my ask is, hey, would you buy this office building? And they're a company in Arizona, it's more of a friendly ask because they know me. They've seen my name. They've seen my face because it's on Instagram, or they've seen the brand that I'm representing. So I'm doing social listening. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily extremely strategic with it, but I'm testing. I'm doing it for my father's burger restaurant, and I'm doing it for commercial real estate. Other ways I see it done is Snapchat now. I noticed a friend of mine the other day set up their phone on with Snapchat right next to him as they were cooking, and started going through someone's story. So they watch someone's story as they're cooking, and they're socially listening. They have the ability to interact and chat or do a video comment back, and they're doing it. And it's like, how can you do that as a brand or a small business owner? And so, for example, part of my workout routine sometimes when I'm on the treadmill walking is I'll put up the Snapchat, have my headphones in, and just listen to what people are putting out for content and decide if it's something I want to interact with. So there's so many ways you can do it, but now it's so available. And I love how you talk about events, because, gosh, you can totally tell what's happening at the event at that time. Same thing is to be said. I just met with a large mall owner. Or it was a manager of a mall or a leasing agent of a mall. And are they, as one of the largest mall owners in the entire country, are they doing any social listening over their asset to understand what customers are saying about their mall? They're not based out of here, but they can easily be doing social listening from afar if they start setting up the proper tools and proper team to do it.
Right. That's a perfect example of somebody who could take advantage of this is it's that place, the venue, or it's the mall where you don't always know what's going on in the far wing of the mall outside PacSun, but it's going to end up on Twitter if it's noteworthy enough, and you might never know that unless you have some sort of listening in place. There was one thing you said when you were saying, from the commercial real estate agent's point of view, you have to engage with these business owners, and you have to engage with these people who might not today be in the market to buy a new office building or move or something. One strategy I've done, which is kind of in that same vein of setting things up for sometime down the road, is there was a period where about 3 months where I was pushing really hard towards like guest blogging on sites like Entrepreneur and Inc. and Kissmetrics and these other ones I was pretty successful with. And a lot of the ways that I did that was I first did my research. I went and I figured out who was writing for these blogs. So this is really PR strategy is what it would be. I looked at who was writing for these blogs, who was the editor, who owned the sites in some cases, and I loaded these people into a feed in Hootsuite. Say it's 10 people, and what I did is just for 3 days straight, I would focus on engaging with one person on that list. So if I have 10 people on a list, for 3 days, I'm going to naturally comment on one person's stuff. If he's talking about he just had this for dinner and it was great, weird, I just had that same thing for dinner and it was amazing too. And I followed it up with this wine or whatever. And you find ways to make natural connections with them, because I'm sure you do the same thing, but I do the same thing. Is when people are talking to me on Twitter, especially if they do it, more than once, eventually I'm like, okay, who is this person? I click on their profile. Oh, that's nice to know. And you begin to build this connection with them, even though it's just digitally. But if you repeat this long enough, so for 3 days, I'm focusing on this man. For the next 3 days, it's this woman who's the editor of this site. And then 3 days, I move on to this one. You get to the end of the list, you go back to the top. And you keep repeating this. Eventually, one of those people are either going to put it out there that they're looking for guest posts, which happened, I think, 2 times. And I was like, hey, weird. I can write about that. That's a weird coincidence. They don't necessarily make that connection, and that's why I was stalking them in the first place. Or someone's going to be talking about, they're going to be commenting on an article. You can also comment on the same article about how you would have written it differently or whatever. They then issue it to their memory that you're a writer, and next time they need writing, they're going to go to you. Or I'll just outright share an article with somebody. Hey, this is something I wrote. What do you think about it? I want your feedback on this. So you then position them as an authority. They feel empowered. They feel like they're doing you a favor, but really you're just trying to get in front of them. So there's all these different almost psychology aspects plus social media and listening to kind of position yourself to do the big ask later. I'm doing a lot of the same stuff. Google has a free tool, Google Alerts, which everybody should be using, where I load up my personal name for when I am doing these guest blogs. I can see where else it gets shared, because when they hit these sites, other people come and grab them. They'll either quote them or they'll just take them outright and put them in there. They'll credit you in most cases. So then I want to see where those blogs are showing up, what that comment section looks like, so I can monitor those. It ends up being a lot of work, but it's so worthwhile. You're taking this one hit, which is this one article on Entrepreneur, and then you're following it all over to bring all those people back to your website. Hey, if you like this article, I've got 15 more over on my website just like it. So again, it's just taking the listening and finding ways to keep that conversation going or get in front of the right people.
Yeah, and get strategic. And now as you talk that through, I think of other ways I'm somewhat strategic in my listening. One comment I'll make, and I've said this before, is Twitter is where I've met a lot of people, but where I've really got to know them then is on Snapchat. So I can find them, I can figure out they're interested in CRE or real estate, or they've used the hashtag real estate life. I can tell they're forward thinking in that specific niche, and I start to engage and we hit it off and we're talking on Twitter. And then next thing you know, I'm like, hey, do you have a Snapchat? Or hey, do you have time for a Google Hangout? Then we're following each other on multiple platforms. And then I really start building a relationship with that individual person. In real estate, it's usually individual people, but the same thing could be said for brands, which maybe isn't a person. It's a brand that's being repped. And then the other thing that comes to mind where I've got strategic is you can set up lists within Twitter. So I've set up lists such as CRE owners, CRE brokers, CRE, what's another list that I have? CRE tech. So people that are either companies or people that are really focused in commercial real estate technologies. And then it's interesting, we talked about Hootsuite. I'll bring it up again. To me, what it's saying is Hootsuite is a really good tool for social listening, for the fact that you can see these multiple streams very easily, and you can engage very easily within Hootsuite, and you can also watch very easily within Hootsuite. There's a new co-working spot in Rochester. It's called Collider, very cool, forward-thinking group that has developed this. And when I walked into their office space just last week, behind the reception desk was a large TV, and on that TV was Hootsuite, and they had the hashtag RochMN, and they had the hashtag, I don't know exactly, let's say MedCity or MedTech or whatever it was. And you could see conversations happening live time right there behind the receptionist. Social listening's happening right there by people that are seeing it. So that's one way I've got strategic, is lists within Twitter. Another thing I've done is I've set up notifications within Facebook to people that I'm interested in. So when they post on Facebook or when they go live or whatever the case may be, I get the notification. And also within Facebook, you can select a person, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I'm a huge fan of, and he actually was smart. He said, please do this. Set it up to where I come up in your stream first. I've done that now with him because he asked me to do it, and then a couple other people. And this content comes up in my stream first, so it's not just as it comes. I see the stuff I'm interested in. So that's ways I've got strategic and social listening.
Yeah, there's still these little things that are kind of that aha moment, and that's kind of what that is. Where I know what you're talking about when Gary Vee was saying, go up here, click this, show me first in your newsfeed. And I think that's something that me as a person who's spent a lot of time on Facebook, both as an individual and business-oriented stuff, I knew that existed. And yeah, I had thought about how you could get people to take that action. But I think the way he did it was he actually made, at least the one I saw, he made a GIF and where it actually moved. So he was like, This is your mouse pointer. Click here, this drops down, click this, done.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, why didn't I think of that? and then it's also telling the consumer that is a great idea. So I want to follow him. I want to follow this person. I want to follow this person. So it's actually him putting this out there for himself. But really, he's kind of helping all these other people because now you're taking more control over your news feed. And yeah, Hootsuite does a great job. There's also TweetDeck and all these other ones. Because social media, it's just a fire hose of all kinds of stuff that you can't possibly consume in any reasonable way in real time, especially if you're a busy person who's actually like doing these things, who's actually acting on this stuff. So you have to have some sort of management tool or listening software to help pull that together. So yeah, Google Alerts is great. There's also a website called If This Then That. I think it's ifttt.com. There's some crazy. It almost has to have a little bit of a developer mindset where if this happens on this website and if this happens, then do this. So one example, this is years ago. I used to use this website. What it would do is every morning it would take a screenshot of a company's My Team page because I had heard that there's going to be a change in who was running the company, and I wanted to know kind of before it went through like the media and everything when that change occurred. So I set it up in If This Then That every morning it would go take a screenshot of this website. The next morning it would go back and take a screenshot of this website. And the first time that website changed, which in most cases would be when they update that My Team page, it's going to send me an email and say, hey, this page changed, check it out. And it did. It did. The CEO changed, and the website grabber saw that. It sent it to me, and then I knew before it went out across Twitter, before the press release came out, before everything, so I could kind of have the leg up in almost like gossip. Like, yeah, I know this. I saw this happen. I've also done it with, I've used If This Then That to watch competitor blog posts. So almost every blog has what's called an RSS feed. It's actually a really old school tool, but it's still out there. And what it is, it's almost a dumbed down version of a blog's homepage where it lists all the articles. It's literally just a link to every single one. So I take all these blogs I like. So it's Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin, Hugh McLeod, all these guys. I feed all their blogs into If This Then That. And if a new blog post goes up, it shoots over to a Google spreadsheet. So every morning I can just go look and say, hey, here's the new blog post that went up from these guys. I know businesses are doing that also with their competitors. So I have that set up for our agency. I load up all our competitor blog feeds. And every time our competitor of ours posts a new blog, it loads into the spreadsheet. So I can see who's talking about what, when they're talking about it. I can read that article, I can comment on that article, or I can write a better version of that article to outrank them in search because my article is better. Mine's going to get more engagement. So you can just kind of keep a pulse on everybody around you, again, by listening and paying attention.
Wow.
It's so important. Like, it's weird. I think here at the office, everybody like thinks I'm like some savant or something. Like I know all this stuff that's going on like in our industry and like in our clients' industries. I mean, it's not that at all. I just have the tools in place that I can easily, almost like a heads up overview every day, just be like, okay, this industry, these competitor blogs went up. In our industry, these ones went up. In my industry, I got these mentions. This person's talking about me. This person's talking about this, which I need to answer a question to. Just pulls it all into one simple little thing. I take care of it and move on with my day. It's pretty cool. I should actually do a blog on that.
Yeah, and as I think about it, I don't have near that set up, but it interests me to figure out how. As I continually put out content, I'm sure I'm missing questions, I'm missing interaction, and if I really want to grow this brand in this network online, whether it's myself or my firm or my father's burger restaurant, I got to work to be a part of those conversations, and I can get more strategic in that. Another thing, social listening. So let's talk about this real quick. If you want to be one that is listened to, what are some things maybe you should do? And I think of what I've done. So Snapchat, you can add emojis in front of your name. And I think also within Snapchat, and I may not be right, but I believe at one time it was alphabetically ordered of how it came up on the story. And I don't remember if the emoji index first, but there's things like that. Or maybe bring it back down to more simple terms of like, this is why your profile photo matters on Instagram. So people start to recognize now with the story coming up, I can tell you I'm more likely to click on the story of the person that I see and recognize than I am the guy with the background that blends in with his face and his shirt. And I don't feel engaged to click it. Where it's a white background and the person, I'll click that because I get familiar with seeing that. So if you want to be listened to, that's some immediate things that come to my mind. What would be your thoughts, Dallas, besides putting out good content? Because we all know that, like, unless the market decides if you're putting out good content, if you're not putting out good content, you're not going to get probably listened to. But let's say you're putting out stuff that people want to listen to. What's some strategies to help you be up there more, listen to more?
Yeah, it's a lot like what you said. So in popular sales and marketing, a popular kind of saying is there's only two things that matter. And it's awareness and it's trust. If you're trying to sell a product or yourself or anything, that's all that matters. People buy from people they know exist, and people buy from people they trust. So awareness is kind of like what you're saying. You have to have that easily identifiable image. Like you said, it's the white background, it's your face. There's been a lot of stuff a few years ago when I was doing really heavy pay-per-click on Facebook affiliate marketing stuff. There was so much science and so much data that supported putting like a 3-pixel red border around your ad, or putting something out of place in the ad just because it draws people's eyes to them. I know we do a lot of landing pages here at the agency. So if you think of a website landing page that wants you to sign up for something, a common psychology type thing is on that landing page, the big header image that is at the top of every page now. It's pretty common to put a person's face in that header who's looking at the sign up button. Or we have one right now for the agency that's promoting like a marketing course. The image is like a stock photo of a person writing with a pencil. The pencil points directly to the form. So there's psychology behind how do you attract people's eyes, and then that goes over to social media as far as there's a lot of studies behind the colors you use on your Instagram posts. For example, does it look matte? Matte images do better than shiny images because shiny, I don't know what the science is, but it scares people away. It's abrasive. It's tough to look at. Buttons on your websites, rounded corners do better than square corners because humans' eyes don't like pointy edges. They avoid those things. Instagram, it's crazy. Blue versus red versus green versus all these things. So a lot of it is just capturing that awareness. Once you have that awareness, then yeah, your content needs to deliver. You usually only get one shot to make an impression if you're trying to be like this influencer type. So let's say you win in that first net of just getting the eyeball to you, the eyeballs probably, usually. So getting the eyeballs to you, then you need to have a type of content in a form that's best designed to deliver that in. So if I'm doing something at home, looking up a how-to guide, I don't want to get to your website and get all kinds of content blockers and opt in for this, download this. Just give me the list, the top 10 list of how do I solve this problem. Instagram, maybe I'm just looking for humor. I click on your picture, which is probably something that relates to that. I want to be entertained. So your content better entertain me. Or next time I see you and that recognizable face or default image, I'm probably not going to click on it because I was disappointed the first time. So yeah, build that awareness, capture that attention, and then keep it. So earn it and retain it.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing I would say on that is then hone in on where you're delivering that content. One thing I do a lot is I spread myself. So I try to write and I'll give that a shot and I'll try this. And that's good to try. But then when you find out what it is, really hone in on what it is that you're good at, what you like. So a great example, I had a Google Hangout a couple days ago with some CRE folks. And he goes, yeah, Bucky's the guy we were interviewing. He goes, yeah, Bucky's kind of the video guy. And I was like, okay, interesting. This guy sees me as the video guy. It's because I put a lot of content out on video, but two, I thought about it. I'm like, I love video. Why am I giving so much effort to like these other things? Just honing my energy on video. Once I get that more perfected, then I could see myself personally going out and spreading my wings again. But what I've done in the beginning of putting out content for a brand, for myself, for other brands, is I spread my wings, and then I think now hone in on, where I'm good at delivering the content.
Yeah, I agree totally. Like, for example, I don't use Snapchat for personal use. I would love to. I just don't think my life or my lifestyle or what I'm doing, it translates. I don't think it works on the platform. What I excel at is doing things on my blog, which are deep dive, 2,000 word blog articles, totally researching and investigating a how-to on something that I don't think people are discussing already. I'm going to put all these thoughts behind it, and then I'm going to distribute that to the right channels from there and put it in front of the right people. But if you were to ask me to do something like that on Snapchat, it wouldn't work. I couldn't. I mean, maybe I could live stream me writing the blog. Like, my lifestyle just doesn't work. Whereas you're out in the city, you're meeting people, you're going to businesses. Snapchat is awesome for that. You're doing a really good job at it. It just, for me, I'm sitting at a keyboard in my office all day, so it doesn't work for me.
Another thing I would say is I just recognized this in the last week. Facebook Live is coming up, and there's a lot of people putting out content on Facebook Live. I follow other real estate agents. Michael Meyer in New York is putting out a ton of content on Facebook. He's doing an awesome job. And I'm sitting there driving down the road. When I drive down the road, once in a while, I'll listen to a podcast. His Facebook Live, I wanted to listen to, and I couldn't listen to it with the app being closed. App closes, content is shut off. The stream is shut off. When are these apps going to figure out that that's extremely important to allow for that information to continually, that content to continually be delivered? Great example is, and I'm sure other people hate this because I hate it, YouTube's the same way unless you sign up for Red. Well, guess what? I'm not signing up for another membership. And you piss me off, YouTube, because you cut me off on some good content. And because of that, my attention is still going to podcast or Audible or whatever the case is. When are they going to figure this out? Is it important that they figure this out? And then third question would be, can you compare that to a brand and how they're delivering content? And how, if Bucky Beeman, commercial real estate agent, is putting out content, but I don't put it out in a certain way, is that hurting my brand?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think the way I would approach that is, for the last 1,000 years, businesses have been able to decide. They've controlled everything. But for the last 10, the consumers are taking all of that power back. So exactly like what you're saying, YouTube has the technology. So your first question was, when are they going to figure the technology out? The technology's there. Pandora does it. iTunes, YouTube has it, but YouTube makes you pay for it. I actually was just reading something about that. So I think the way the businesses are seeing that, they're saying, oh, this is a value-added service. People would love if they could listen to YouTube movies or music or podcasts with the phone shut off, and you can't. It shuts the music off, and it drives me crazy. What YouTube is going to figure out really fast is that's not a selling point. That's just a point to cause friction among your users, and your users are going to choose something else.
And they're going to tweet about you being stupid for doing that.
Right. And it's like when Amazon came online, they went to Borders Books, and Borders Books was like, oh no one's going to buy anything online. So Amazon's like, okay, fine, we'll run your online bookstore, because that's all Amazon was at the time. So if you went to Borders, it just literally forwarded to Amazon.com. And it's because Borders said, no, that's not what people want. We want this. And so we're not going to give people what they're actually demanding. Kodak film, they went straight for actual better film when everybody was going digital. They didn't pay attention. This is repeated over and over again. Blockbuster went out of business because they said that people want the experience of going to the movie store to pick out the movie, because they weren't listening, again, which is the whole point of this episode. The businesses don't get to decide anymore. It's the consumers and the market that decide, and that's all that matters. So on the Everybody's Got This Live thing going on right now, I actually just had this internal dialogue when I was setting this episode up today, because I scheduled the event on YouTube, and then I went over to Facebook to share the YouTube link, and it was like, do you want to go live here? And I was like, well, yes, but I'm already on YouTube. And then, so I just posted the link, and then I went to Twitter to share it, and then Twitter now has Periscope right there next to new tweet, which it's the first time I've noticed it. So then I'm thinking, okay, I could have gone live on Facebook. Now Twitter is asking me to go live with the same show I'm talking about, where I'm live on YouTube, which I'm actually broadcasting through Google Hangouts live. So it's like, I would love if I could go live in one place and I showed up live on all of these places. But everybody's still in that power grab mode. When somebody comes up with a solution and it's maybe not platform specific, maybe it's a piece of software I download, which puts it everywhere, which is probably already out there. That's who I'm going to go with. I'm not going to have to pick one anymore. I don't want to have to pick. I want the things how I want them, and that's what every consumer is experiencing right now.
And I think how small businesses, whether it's a brand of Bucky Beeman or Realty Growth Incorporated or Snappy Stop the Burger Joint or whatever brands you represent, like, they need to figure out easy distribution. And I commend you and what you've done with this Google Hangout, where it was literally the first one, Dallas. You said, hey, we're going to have it on podcast. It's going to be on this. It's going to be on that. It's going to be on that. You figured out very easily how to get this content that we have right now shared on multiple platforms. And so people can take it in however they want. They can listen to it on whatever platform they like. So if businesses can figure that out, then I think it's worth the time. But if you're struggling, if you're spending all this time, like, I've got to post it here and post it here and post it here, I guess I ask myself as a small business owner, is that where my time is best spent? So no, it's not. Yeah,
actually, I have a pretty good example of that. As I went to South by Southwest last year in Austin, Texas, which was awesome. I think I'm going to go again this year. Actually, I know I'm going to go again this year some way. I'm going to make it work. But I don't know what his position was in BuzzFeed. He was one of the main guys. I don't want to say CEO, but one of the main guys in BuzzFeed is up giving his kind of interview style keynote kind of thing. The lady's asking questions, he's answering. And at one point, he talked about what he calls a distributed network strategy, which is something I brought back from there. I've been trying to do myself, this is a perfect example. So for a long time, everybody has wanted to pull everybody to them. So come to my website, watch my podcast, or watch my YouTube video, which is what, in a traditional sense, what we would do here. We would record this, I would put it on my website, and I'd say, hey, everybody, come watch us here. But people don't want to do that anymore. So in his distributed network strategy, he said that, I don't remember the exact numbers, it's insane though. BuzzFeed does, I think, 6 billion video plays a month. And he said over 95% of those are not on BuzzFeed.com. They're everywhere else. And he's like, this is great. He's like, this is how we grew BuzzFeed. Instead of saying, hey, we've got this video on BuzzFeed, come watch it, they went where everybody already was and placed that video where they could find it. He didn't care about making everybody come back to BuzzFeed to serve ad impressions or whatever. He knew that would be a natural extension of, okay, I saw this great BuzzFeed video on Twitter. I also saw them last week on Facebook. What's on their website? Let me just go explore. And that's how they got this insanely huge network that they have now. So same thing. Awesome. We're recording this, putting it everywhere, and saying, you decide. And Joe and Larry and John, whatever is best for you, whatever you prefer to consume things on, we're there. Figure it out.
Cool. Well, social listening, I know we try not to make these too long. Tell me more about social listening, kind of to wrap it up, and we can move on to the last segment of our show.
Yeah, I would say if you're not doing social listening and you have listened to this whole episode, I think when we first started this conversation, social listening was just kind of this thing, and now we're actually seeing how it ties into every other aspect of our business, whether it's reputation management, it's increasing your reach by watching your name and mentions across the web, it's monitoring your venue, whatever it is. It's so incredibly important to stay in touch with your audience and proactive, and just engaging with everybody. It's too important.
And if you don't have people that you're interacting with, it's so easy now to find those people that have similar interests that you do, and figuring out the platform that you communicate on with them the most. And so that's my story of, I've met people on Twitter. I'm not much of a texter. I'm more of a Snapchatter. I got them over into the platform that I love. And from there, Friday, one of my Snapchatting friends is doing a Snapchat takeover for the first time ever. And that's the way it works, built that relationship to where I trust giving him my password of Snapchat, and I trust that he's going to not embarrass me.
Yeah, and maybe if he does, it'll be even better. Yeah, people will be talking if he embarrasses you.
Yeah, that's for sure. So Eddie, if you're listening, better not be embarrassing me on Friday. Last show, did we wrap up? Just remind me, we wrapped it up with kind of what we're seeing, the news, like latest. Is that latest and greatest what you're seeing out there?
Yeah, I think that's what we did last time. Is that what you want to do again?
I like that, and I would like to have one takeaway that you would share with a small business owner or just anybody related to digital, and one action they can take to make a difference in their business between now and the next show.
One thing I would do, let's see, if you're not already doing it, I would invest at least a small amount into Google's pay-per-click network on search. So an example would be, let's say, I don't want to use commercial real estate as an example, but let's say you're a hairstylist in Rochester. It's weird because I did pay-per-click in that market, and now I'm doing it in a major market. And now in hindsight, it's like, man, I could crush a small market with pay-per-click. Like it would be insane. So what my example would be, just try a few keywords to start. Anybody within Rochester, within maybe 5 miles of your salon, searching hairstylists near me, place a dollar bid on that. If you get, I don't know, you got to figure out what your margins are. If you profit, we're talking net here, not gross. If you profit $10 per head of hair that you cut, or maybe more, if you can get that click for less than $10, your budget's infinite. Just keep going until you figure out where that break-even point is. So you can start with $5 a day, see how it goes. You should figure something out there.
All right, then. Are we doing another show next week?
Yeah, we're not done.
So then my challenge is, I'm going to say, I don't know if $5, it's getting expensive for me, Dallas, but maybe $1 a day. I'm going to do it, commercial real estate. So and I'll tell you what my feedback is. Thank you for the push. I haven't done it, and I'm going to tell you if it's good or bad, and you're going to tell me what's wrong or right. So
yeah,
challenge out there.
I would say try it. If you don't see results, no one starts with pay-per-click and they're like, man, that was so easy. That's why people like me have jobs. To really fine tune that, you probably will end up needing somebody, but maybe in a market like that, you can figure it out. What I would do is I would just Google, just search, just say office buildings, Rochester, and look at the paid ads. Who's the competition? If you think you can beat them, go for it.
Okay. And then what are you seeing out there in the wild, the CRE wild, the digital wild?
Man, in the digital wild, what I would say that I think is the biggest change is, again, on the Google network. So what just happened is, a few months ago, when you used to search on Google, you would see the ads across the top, across the bottom, and all down the side. So a few months ago, they removed all those side ads, and everybody panicked. They're like, oh my God, we just lost, I think it was like, I would say 7 out of our 10 ad placements on the page 1, which was a big deal. But everybody always panics when these things happen, but I'm just sitting there like, right, but Google's doing this for a reason. They're here to make money. So they're not going to remove all the stuff they've monetized. What they did is, by removing that whole side of ads, they made the ads way longer, so they take up way more real estate. So I think just maybe 2 weeks ago, we rolled out for all of our clients the new longer ads that take up more real estate. And the results are across the board, I would say 100 to 150% better. Costs are better, click-through rates are better. All that's happening is you can say more about your brand, and you take up more real estate on someone's monitor for them to click on. It's awesome. It's the best change they made in a long time.
That is awesome. All right, so what am I seeing? I'm seeing a lot, and I'm trying to think of something different than the last Google Hangout I did. And I guess what comes to mind, struggling just a little bit, but I guess a couple comments. One is I saw Amazon now with an Amazon Prime membership, you get Audible for free, like the radio stations maybe with Audible. And so it's interesting to see these large companies using content as kind of an extra bonus to get you to sign up for whatever their thing is. So I've seen that, and I'm extremely impressed with the people within real estate that are using Facebook Live that are now making these things into episodes, and they're like their own TV shows, and the amount of engagement that they're getting. Neil Mathway got a Madison, Wisconsin Onion Juice podcast. This guy has 3 episode styles going on Facebook Live. He's got Izzy and him and his daughter. He's got the Onion Juice podcast, which he's doing a Facebook Live on his Facebook page, and then also he's delivering it out there on a podcast. And then he's got, like, I don't watch this one, but it's one related to the market, I believe. And he is absolutely crushing the delivery of content through Facebook. And I think it comes full circle to say, Gary Vee says often, I day trade attention, and he's capturing people's attention, and he's figuring out what's valuable related to that. Facebook is on point with their live delivery. They're a force to reckon with, and they're going to continually be a force. Small business wise, so I'm going back at you with a challenge, Dallas. You say that Snapchat is a struggle for you because you don't have the life that's entertaining. You have to try at least 3 days of doing Snapchat. I'm trying to think of something that's like you can do. You can do 3 days of Snapchat, Dallas. You can do, if it's not video, it's photos. If it's not video of you talking, it's video of something else. And figure out how on this platform to deliver content. Heck, I'll watch your Snapchat if it's valuable in picture form with no audio, because you will find a way to deliver value on that platform. I know you will. So I challenge you, give me 3 days of actually putting something on Snapchat, please. And same with all the other small businesses out there. You can trust me and watch what it will do for you of just being like, wow, I actually can make a story, and that story I could share on multiple platforms. And it's a tool that allows you to make stories easily.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna tell everybody at the agency what I'm doing, so we'll come up with something. We'll find a way.
I think of how-tos in picture form. I think of how-tos in video form. I think of something. Give me some tips. Give me tips related to digital advertising on Snapchat.
Yeah, I'll have to do what you're always telling me, and what everybody in this building is always telling me. Yeah, but do something that makes sense. I can't be like, hey, here's my lunchtime bid adjustment on this keyword. Or what? Yeah, I'll figure it out.
I told you that before we started the show live. I'm going to try to bring you to micro level because you're such a big world up here. I'm just trying to sell some burgers in Rochester, Minnesota, and hopefully I can work with the yoga studio to lease some space and all that stuff. And you're in this world of big stuff. So yeah, make it so I can understand what the heck you're posting.
All right, you got to follow me then, Bucky. I'm going to set up a new account. I only have the old 507 one. I'll set up a brand new one.
All right.
Start from zero.
Wait. Sweet. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you for the show. Thank you for putting this on, and thank you for anybody listening and watching. We really enjoy your attention, and we really enjoy when you actually interact with us, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on here, wherever it is, because it just pushes us. We need more guests on the show. We need more questions and answers. We need people calling us out, telling us we're fools, because that helps us get better.
That's right. Can't always be the smartest guy in the room.
Definitely not.
You got to find a different room eventually.
Thanks, Dallas.
All right. Good talking to you, Bucky.